A lot of the pools that are being built in the Houston area right now, people use glass waterline tile. Even Max Strip will scorch that tile. We don't use that.
And that's when you're blasting it with your machine.
Right.
All right, so we're here with Craig with Mako Sealants, and I've known Craig for, I don't know, at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And I remember the day I met you is because I was on a job, and it was when travertine wasn't a big deal, and we were starting to use it. This is like in Creekside, and this lady wanted her deck sealed. She was a Hispanic lady. I'm like, whatever, I'll seal the deck. And I said one of my guys go over there with a pump sprayer. Do you remember this?
Mhm.
And he pumped it. Chase Williams, my old buddy, pumped it, sprayed it. The next day, she's like, there's spots all over my deck. And so I don't know how I found you, but I was like, probably through Ben Bach or something. And I was like, oh shit, can you come help me here? And so you went over there, you evened out all this. So from then on, I'm like, we're not sealing anything. So Regal Pools does not seal anything. Craig seals all of our products that do need to be sealed. So I wanted to bring him in to talk about one, preventative maintenance with materials out in these harmful conditions, and two, longevity of the product. So the bead blasting and the stuff that goes into that. So I'm going to let you talk about, what you see in the field and what I think our clients need to know before they build a custom swimming pool with all these, basically put tile outside for years at a time and they expect to have zero maintenance on it. Obviously, there's some cleaning and maintenance that goes into it. So I'm just going to let you talk.
Right. Well, even if you do get it sealed, there's still some maintenance that is involved because with all things exposed to the elements, it's going to get dirty.
Right.
By providing or applying a sealant to the surface of whatever stone that you're dealing with, it provides you a low maintenance type of an environment for that stone than instead of a constant maintenance. And the best way to describe it is that uh, to get it sealed, what it's going to basically do is it's going to prolong the life of the stone, no matter what stone we're dealing with, whether it be travertine, marble, limestone. It's always best to take that into consideration, considering the amount of activity and entertaining that you're going to be doing around a swimming pool, especially if you've got limestone decking. Limestone decking is extremely absorbent. It tracks everything, especially the ongoing selections that people are doing right now. They're mostly of a Blanco or a shell.
We've been trying to go away from it because we lay it down and it looks beautiful in here. It looks beautiful when we lay it down. And then people expect it to look beautiful just like that for the rest of eternity.
Right. And unfortunately, that's just not the case.
No.
It's not because, it's like I said, the exposure to the elements is the biggest key. And the fact that, if it's not been sealed, no matter what hits it, it's gonna pull it like a sponge.
Yep.
And especially if you've got kids that are running around with food in their hands, if they drop a hot dog or a hamburger that's got ketchup or mustard on it, and if they leave it overnight, it can begin to soak into the point where if it gets deep enough into the substrate, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to literally replace the paver.
And so it's important to know what material you're putting out there because my pool, I think I built my pool like 10 years ago. I have an ivory and dude, you can dump a gallon of paint on that thing and 10 days later, it's going to be cleaned off. It's so durable. It's unbelievable. Not really paint, but like acorns or, the oak trees drop stuff.
Right.
And those mineral deposits will like wash away from travertine, but other stuff you can never get it out almost.
That's pretty much the case. And then that's why we mainly like to stick to penetrating sealants as opposed to film forming or surface sealants. Penetrating sealants chemically bond to the surface of whatever the stoneware we're dealing with, which means once it's fully cured, the only way to get rid of the seal is to literally gouge it with heavy furniture, dragging heavy pottery across it, or literally just replacing stone if it's uncracked.
Right.
Now, granted, it doesn't last forever, but it certainly does prolong the life of the stone. And depending on what type of a sealant that you're using is going to determine the warranty factors that come into play when we make the selection.
Yeah. So Craig also doesn't use DuPont off the shelf Ace hardware sealants. Like the stuff he buys, I don't even know what it is.
I have it manufactured here. It's to my specifications here in the Houston area.
Right. There you go. So you're getting stuff that is, you've done it for years. So you actually know what you want. So when you put it down, some people balk at the price, right? So a lot of times when we're designing and selling swimming pools in here, we're going to tell you about sealing, but we really want to refer Craig later because we don't make any money off of you. We just want to prolong our product. Other people, they're like, hey, you know what? Another $5,000 to seal my deck, I'm okay with, and we'll add that on top and you'll take care of it for us. But I just want everybody, all of our clients to be aware that there is another option of it protecting your investment. And if you are going to go outside and expect it to look perfect forever, you need to make an investment into that.
Correct. Yeah, and it may be a little bit pricey, but then again, in the grand scheme of things, it's not. Considering if you're spending 160, 70,000, $200,000 on a swimming pool,
Right.
if you have to spend another anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 to get it,
Yeah.
to get it protected, it's worth the investment.
It's like if you buy a race car, you usually put a PPF on it,
Right.
pavement protection film, right?
Right.
Or ceramic coating.
Correct.
And so if I was going to put a white anything outside, I would seal it and protect the investment. Now, if you're going to do like an ivory or even a lot of marbles are super durable, they might not need it, but a
Mhm.
lot of this stuff needs it. So I wouldn't cut you out of business, but I'd say some stuff doesn't need it, but the stuff that we do, a lot of times it does need it.
Right. Well, no matter what the stone is, unless even if it's engineered,
Uh-huh.
you're still going to have some porosity levels to it. So
What's
regardless of,
porosity?
well, it's just the level of absorption that the stone carries.
Right.
For instance, when you're dealing with limestone, it's like a petrified sponge. It pulls
Right.
everything. Whereas when you're dealing with travertine and limestone, no, I'm sorry, not limestone, but travertine and marble, the porosity level is much lower and the density is much higher.
Right.
So it takes a longer time for moisture uh, to soak into the surface, unlike limestone. But you're still going to get it. It's not a matter of if, but when. For instance, when you're dealing with, like I said, going back to the entertainment value of it, if you have uh, people over and they spill a glass of red wine on the deck, regardless of the stone, if they leave it there, it's going to soak in there and it's going to permanently stain it.
Right.
Even if it's especially untreated, but if it's treated, that's where it gives you that layer of protection.
Right.
Uh, that way you'll have the ample time to get it cleaned up. Even if it's a couple of days later and you notice it, at least you'll be able to go out there and get it done. Whereas if it has not been sealed, the damage is done.
Right.
Even if you go out there and try to use a liquid chlorine or just a common household bleach to try to bleach out the stain, you're not always going to get what you're looking for. You still may have a shadow of that left over on that paver, or however wide that stain may have gone across the deck.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the circumstances, but it's always best just, if you're going to protect your investment, it's always best to do so that way. Like I said, in the grand scheme of things, some people think it might be a little bit more expensive, but if you've dropped, $200,000 on a swimming pool and you've got a 1,500 to 1,800 square foot deck that needs to be sealed,
Mhm.
I would certainly do that, because 6 months down the road, if it's not sealed, it could look like it's 15 years old.
Yeah. And then you're power
Especially in this
washing,
environment.
you're sanding it and all that stuff.
That's correct.
So another thing with pavers is the stabilized sand, or I'm sorry, not the stabilized sand that goes under it, but the polymeric sand that we fill in our grouts with. So a lot of our clients don't realize that that does need maintenance. And they don't, and sometimes we got to remind them, like, you do need to power wash your deck once a year.
Right.
You do need to reapply polymeric sand. It's not really hard to do, but you could call us and we can do it.
That's right.
Or you can do it. They
That's
can pay
right.
you to do it. But just want people to know, like, the weather that we have here in Houston is probably the worst. It's so humid, it's wet, it's all these different things, so our decks sweat. We have monsoon, so it washes out the sand, so there are
Right.
maintenance things that we have to do on these decks.
Right. Yeah. It's probably, you probably get the worst of the worst in this part of the country for some reason. It just gets, you get the coldest and you get the hottest, wet. You name it. We get all four corners.
Yeah, but the great thing about pavers in Texas is that, concrete cracks and our pavers don't crack. They'll settle, but then we can always pop off the pavers, re-level the sand, put a little concrete under it, and then put them back down and then reapply the sand. That's why we like it. We could pour concrete on every single project, but it's always gonna crack. We do it for structural reasons, and we do it, for other reasons too. And even if you want it, if you wanna have concrete underneath your pavers, we can do that. It's just, an extra 10. I mean, it depends on the price, but it's going to be at least an extra 10,000 at the top of your project.
And obviously the size.
Yeah. But my pool has stabilized sand with pavers. It's 10 years old and I've probably had to re-level it 2 or 3 times. But not even the whole deck, just sections of the deck. And every year I put sand down. I had it done last week. So, uh, talk about bead blasting and why that's important. So everybody hates the white film that comes into a swimming pool after amount of time, right?
Right.
Black tile is very important. Like everybody's doing black tile now. And so realistically, when I'm in my pool, I'll rub down my tile just to, but I didn't on my white tile. And your son came over last week and had to blast the thing. And that was white tile that I'd cleaned, but I got lazy with it. I just let it go for like 4 or 5 months instead of cleaning it for every month. I usually just wipe it down. and then it got so thick, and this is a white porcelain, that you guys had to beat off a white porcelain. So glass always gets the white, black always gets the white, but even porcelain will get the scum line on it.
Yeah, so will travertine as well. Travertine, because travertine has a tendency, if you see a black line develop on the waterline tile, 99% of the time that is caused from body oils and suntan lotion that floats on the surface of the water.
So
And
scum line.
it's a scum line. It's a black scum line that you'll see on most of the time you only see it on travertine. It'll take the absorption. But the other ones, when you're dealing with ceramic and porcelain, glass tile, we don't use, there are a lot of companies out here that try to take, try to go after doing some media blasting, and they use some very low grade media such as walnut pecan. They'll use glass, and they'll use max strip. Even max strip, as delicate as they claim it can be, a lot of the pools that are being built in the Houston area right now, people use glass waterline tile. Even max strip will scorch that tile. We don't use that.
And that's when you're blasting it with your machine,
Right.
which shoots out at X amount of, what's PSI?
187. 187. It goes up to 187 CFM. But we don't have to go that high because we're not using either one of those medias. What we're using is a magnesium sulfate that is shipped to us by the pallet out of California. We just spent with the compressor and the blast pod, all the hoses, roughly about $55,000.
I saw that last week and I was like, that thing looks badass.
Yeah.
I'd never seen one like that. Usually I mean, honestly, I don't even know what they look like because I just use you and I never.
Yeah. Well, when we first, when a lot of people will use just a standard wet blast method using a power washer.
I think I bought one of those one year.
Right.
Like before, like forever ago.
Yeah. The only problem with it is though, you're
trash.
just limited on what you can push through.
And they get stuck at the bottom because it gets wet and all that stuff.
It gets wet. It creates a lot of condensation in the pod, in the hopper. It does. Well, with this unit that we got right here, it's a dry blast. We don't use wet because usually when you're using a wet blast, the water will help buffer, the hit, so it's not as aggressive. Whereas when you're using a magnesium sulfate, it does it just as good. And even if you have glass tile, you can clean the glass tile with this method that we're using right now, and it'll make it look just like it did when it was first installed.
Yeah,
and the beauty of it is that magnesium sulfate, once it hits the water, it's 50% water soluble.
Oh, really?
So the downtime is much less. It's easily vacuumed out, and it doesn't create the murkiness that these other medias use, and where the pool can sometimes stay down for as much as 36 hours to clear up enough to where they can see the bottom and vacuum it out. We don't have to worry about that.
And you got to clean the filter after.
Well, no, because we use an auxiliary.
You don't have to, but I do.
Yeah, no, because we shut the system down. We use our own auxiliary pump, so nothing ever goes to the system at all.
Got it.
Your system, we keep it shut down.
When we were doing it, all that shit would settle the floor. Regal Pools was doing it with our own machine. All that shit would settle the floor, and we had to vacuum it. And then we had to clean the filter.
Then we had to clean the filters. That's right. But the system, when we go to a customer's house, the system is completely shut down until the pool has, the media blast has been done, the vacuum has been done, the pool is up and running. And then once that happens, then we put the pool up and running. That way, there's no contamination whatsoever going through the system.
Yeah. And I know your so your son does a lot of the work now, I know. And I know he's smart because he came to my house and I have a new automation system and he didn't ask me how to turn it off. That's pretty good. Because nobody has the pool. I mean, so many people have it, but I have the pool attendant, which is like new. It's like an iPad on the side. It's easy to do.
Sure.
But most guys are going to be like, how do I do this? But
I'm one of them.
Are you? So you taught him how to use it already?
Yeah, well, up to a certain point, but he does so many of them right now. We're doing anywhere between 30 to 40 blasts a month.
Really?
Yeah, so he's getting an opportunity to see just about every
that's
combination of
So you're staying busy in the Houston market.
Yeah, yes, we are. And it's getting to the point where we're steadily about 4 weeks out, steady booking.
Well, thanks for never letting us wait that long. I don't wait that long.
Well, we're in the process. We're considering about buying another unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big unit that you're pulling behind.
Yeah, we're going to buy another one. Yeah. Because of the amount of return that we're getting, a lot of positive feedback from previous customers and a lot of referrals and so on and so forth. So the business is slowly expanding.
Yeah. So
I say slowly, but it's moving up a lot.
So I think like a good client, realistic, if you take an Epsom salt bath and you get out and you have that scum line around it, you know what I'm talking about? You work out so it feels good. So that is the shit, and it sticks to your pool. And then once it sticks, like even if you let your bathtub stick, you have to rub the shit out of it to get it off.
Well, there's other elements that are there also too. Salt is not so much as there is calcium, but you also have magnesium, potassium, and zinc, because the water that's provided to your pool is provided by the municipalities. The water just makes it drinkable. Well, all those hard water elements have a tendency to float, and that's what causes that accumulation. As that water is circulating through your pool, that's why you get that gradual buildup
So
of that
water
whitening.
source is a big
The
deal.
water source is that is your main source of the issue that you have. There's ways to treat it, but
Not really though. It's hard.
yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
But if you just
'Cause my pool at my house, or my autofill has high phosphates,
yep,
so I'm always battling algae because phosphates are prone to algae food. It's basically what creates algae, and so I have to keep a lot of borates in my pool,
yep.
and that kinda simmers it down. So borates are really good. You can order them online, you can dump a half a bucket or whatever it says on the label into your pool, and man, that's really helped the longevity of my glass tile on my water line, I feel.
Yeah, that's true because it does consume when you implement borate into your water. It does act as a softening agent, similar to salt.
You could tell the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the beauty of it is that it cuts down your chlorine consumption by more than half over the year, and the pool will never grow out. It's not supposed to grow algae anymore
Yeah.
with the borates.
Yeah, and it's like you see so my neighbors, they're from India, and so they're super, like, detailed, clean, and they're like, "Josh, why is my water murky?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Let's try borates."
Mhm.
They won't go without borates now because I see the difference, and I can see the difference too, forget where they're
Absolutely.
from. Yeah. So is there anything else that you'd like to cover to inform our clients about the value of your service?
Only that if you do decide to get your, if you have, like I said, if you're going to be putting natural stone down as part of your coping, your decking, so on and so forth, and the amount of money that you're spending as far as an investment is concerned, like that, it's always to your advantage to consider using us to protect that investment for you. Uh, it's a win-win for you because the amount of money that you're going to be spending on that is it's just minuscule. To get it sealed is minuscule by the amount of what you paid,
Yeah.
for that investment. So and you're going to get every sealant that we have is salt proof. Every one of them are stain proof. You come with a 3-year warranty, but these should last anywhere between 5 to 6 years before reapplication is even necessary
Yeah.
or even considered. Even after the third year, if we reach out to customers from time to time and say, "Hey, look, how's everything looking out there?" And if they're not quite sure about it, I'll be more than happy to drive out there to take a look. And in my view, there's no sense in fixing anything that's not broken. I'll
Right.
be honest with you. If it looks like the seal is still holding up and is still resilient, let's take a look at it in a year from now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if so we went to there was a deck that we didn't get because they thought it was too expensive recently, and that he had an awesome pool, man. It was sick. But his whole like, nobody taking care of it, right? So his whole deck needed to be cleaned, it needed to be sealed, the waterfall, so moss rock, all that stuff Craig can make look new again, right? It takes effort. It was gonna take, like, 7, 8 days, like, it was a big job, it was a pain in the butt, but he was about to bring the whole pool back to life. So if you have a dull deck, if you have, moss rock or some type of stone that doesn't look as vibrant as it used to, he can make that pop again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
don't just, start chipping out your stone, give us a call and we can help you revitalize that pool for your backyard.